morning on Passion Ignited with essential oils. I love talking about this. It is a subject that many have questions about, yet we're afraid or ashamed or insecure about asking these questions. And so I'm the bold one that's willing to just put myself out there and say, hey, I've got some answers that could benefit and help with this. But it's pretty well rounded, and like I said, this is something that's been developed over the last 8 years of just little bits of pieces contributed little by little to enhance it. Well, let's just talk about the benefits of having a healthy sex life. You have less stress, better blood pressure, boosts immunity. And now this one doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not gonna lie. I've kind of laughed in the sense of when you're not feeling well, there's this belief we should stay away and not spread germs and right. So this one kind of makes me a little laugh a little bit, but this protects you from getting colds and other infections. And so it's kind of a contradiction, you could say. Stay away because you're going to get sick, but then you're like, wait, come here so that you don't get sick. Burns calories, that's my personal favorite. I don't know about you, but sometimes hitting up the gym and feel a little bit hard. And that's a great one. Improves heart health. But let me give you a warning. Marjoram is often in the essential world an oil that we go to. And I'm going to give you a warning. Marjoram can lower your libido. So there might be some that want their libido lowered. Marjoram can be your go-to. 2 drops morning and night is what people do to support a healthy heart with marjoram. You can give that a try if that's something you're looking for support of. But I'm also going to warn you that it also can have that effect. Better self-esteem. You guys, there's something about that sexual desire and our anatomy that validates a part of us. Creates a deeper intimacy with your partner. It is the most vulnerable situation you can be in between the two, and it truly can create a deeper intimacy. And those are some of the jewels that we have today to talk about. Is we're going to talk about really in specific some ways to create a deeper intimacy, to take it beyond just sex, so that we can have that intimacy and have more of our buckets in the different categories filled up. May turn down pain. So that love hormone, which is oxytocin, this is the same thing that happens when you have a baby. Same idea. So the way you create a baby and the way you have a baby release the same hormones. It boosts your body's pain soothers called endorphins. So sex may reduce head tension, muscle and joint pain, even PMS symptoms. More ejaculations make prostate cancer less likely. Stronger pelvic floor muscles so that you can jump and dance and jump on the trampoline, and better sleep. Again, that oxytocin during the orgasm promotes a better sleep. So, in conclusion, just simply stated, what are the benefits of intimacy? Really good pros that we talk about. Now, one of the contributions that I've become in love with over the last few years has been honoring men and women's cycles. Well, let's talk about women's cycles first because we're really versed in this. This is normal. We talk about women's hormones all the time, but I want to change the dialogue. I want to change it to this is a beautiful roadmap to how we can be empowered. My experience growing up with hormones was a lot of shame and wanting to hide it and not understanding it and feeling like something was out of control and I didn't understand it. I just had this out of control emotions and emotions needed to be suppressed and I just needed to be flatlined instead of now where I've come to is my body has one set of hormones for the first half of the month and it has a whole nother set of hormones or a lack of hormones for the second half of the month. Well, let me honor myself. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with me. It just means I'm going to have a voice for my needs and I'm going to have a voice to maybe warn people or to talk about people. And that's probably a hard stance points for a lot of you guys is how many of you guys are willing to say, I need, or are you willing to say, please don't, like to say, hey, I'm feeling really low energy. Can you help? Right? Things like that. So, we have our menstrual cycle. So we're going to think of the menstrual cycle of 4 seasons. Is it a coincidence that the moon is 28 days and our cycles when we're in a healthy cycle are generally 28 days? Is it a coincidence that we cycle with the moon? There's something, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called moon bathing. But one thing you can do to regulate your hormones is to bathe in the moon. They say 20 to 30 minutes every night. For me, I'm like, that is why I need a hot tub so I can go outside under the moonlight and just bathe and bask in it when it's cold to be able to get that happening. I can attest to that cycle and understanding it. Now, if we were to all moon bathe and we were to all get in sync with the moon, let's just give this hypothetical, beautiful culture that could come about. What that could look like is if we became in sync with the moon, it could look like our mood reflected what the moon was doing. So our mood might look like, so what happens when the moon is dark? Well, we want to hide, right? There's not lights on. We want to hide. We want to be quiet. That's during our menstrual cycle. That is what it begins with. We call this our winter. So when it's a new moon, when it's dark outside and you can't see the moon, that's our winter. Your energy is going to be low. This is when you're going to be doing exercises that are going to be more like yoga and more low key. Pilates is great. Just, or even just taking walks. This is not your high endurance, go run a marathon time of the month if we're truly honoring our cycles. Now, the next cycle would be, and it talks about on the foods there. If you can take, this is a great one to take a screenshot of. I love honoring our bodies, right? This is where you're going to be thinking of more of like your winter meals. This is where I like to think of casseroles. My body is wanting that red meat. It's wanting that fat on it because it's trying to go into what's called hibernation. This is where we have to mentally shift our brains. Eating fat or eating fattier fish isn't going to make us fat. Our body depends and our brain depends on fat, healthy fats to be able to have that balance with it. But I'm not going to get too deep into it. You guys can go down that rabbit hole. It's a beautiful journey to understanding why we're needing all these types of foods at the different types of our seasons. Okay, so now let's think of the moon. It's going to start developing, it's going to start growing. That's like spring. What happens? Spring, the flowers start coming out. Just like us, we're going to start coming out. This is where ideas start popping out. This is where we get into our creation mode of this is us setting up for the month. What am I going to create in this next 28 days? And if we could get into this cycle, I promise you, there is a higher execution that takes place in our lives as we learn the language of what our bodies physiologically are doing so that our brain is mentally on board with it and emotionally we're on board. What would that feel like if mental, emotional, and physical were in alignment as we're going through our lives? That symmetry might feel like a lot better flow. So this is where we're going to be dealing with that springing, our energy begins to rise. This is where we're getting excited. This is where poultry, our salmon, eggs. Eggs are really key at this one time of the year. But also, I want you to think fermentation food, fermented foods, because we are springing up our digestion. We're setting our digestion up for to digest and to be able to get all this stuff. This is where any like strength training, cardio, hiking, this is where you want to start your new projects though. Think of that. This is like, I'm doing this month. Okay, so then we go into what I like to call the summer. And what do you think of with summer? Summer is we're having fun. You want to gather people. That's something I forgot to mention about winter. When we're hibernating, this is a time when I want you guys to honor yourselves of where this is like one-on-one interactions. This is your time of where you are sloughing off. There's a better word that I usually use. You are detoxing. You are, the word's not coming to me. You are shedding. We'll say that. You are shedding the previous month. You are letting go. And this is a place of where whatever didn't happen, whatever didn't creative, you are letting that go so that you're starting the month from a fresh slate. And this is more one-on-one, quieter interactions. When you get to ovulation, this is when you want to do birthday parties. This is girls' night out. This is double dating time. This is when you are in around people. You have energy and you feed off of people's energy. And this is like the peak, right? This is when your body is like, I'm ready to play. This is when our bodies, our hormones are peaked. This is when we naturally are craving our partners. I tell my boys, if a girl's wanting to make out with you, she is at her most fertile time of the month. She can have a baby really easily because this is our time of where we're initiating, where we're our body is speaking loudly, right? We're not responding to the pheromones of a man necessarily at this time. We're like, we don't care. Just get over here, is what can naturally happen. This is the peak. This is your most powerful self. Now, when you think of your most powerful self, this is because that confidence comes in at this time of the month. Now, foods, this is where you're wanting to do the fibrous foods. If you honor this phase, it sets you up for the next phase to not be so bad. So listen up. That fibrous food, that cruciferous, I can't say that word very well. Lots of veggies, the fishes, the nuts, the avocados, like you want that those types of foods. And this is again high energy. This is you are just in your power. You can accomplish anything. And this is where you are at like the halfway point of your project for the month. Excuse me. It's a great time to bring people in and realize, where do I need help? I need to get this finished within the next 2 weeks. Where am I lacking? Where am I not accomplishing? Where do I need more help? Where am I showing up weaknesses? Because this is the time of the month where collaboration happens at its genius. Now, the reason why we want to set up with those intentional foods is because they help us have the appropriate foods when we're about to fall. When our hormones are about to fall, this is known as PMS season. Well, how about this language? What about the perspective that it's not so much PMS as it is, I need to get things done so that I'm ready for my winter because I'm in hibernation. My energy's low. I'm not going to be as effective. I'm not going to be as efficient. And so that honey to-do list that we get aggravated that isn't done, or the shortness, maybe it's us in a bit of a panic going, I have to get this done. Like my body is screaming at me. This door has to be closed. I have to be done because I'm not going to have the energy to carry this through. So let's take this back to in spring when we are creating our to-dos for the month or our goals, or, in the ovulation phase, if we're bringing people in, can we be better about our communication to say, I need this done within 2 weeks? Is that something you can accomplish? Our verbiage, when we understand our cycles, we can bring such clarity and efficiency and effectiveness to our lives that we are actually progressing. We don't need to fear this PMS phase. We just need to have better communication through it. It's okay to say, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, or I'm decision fatigued. Luteal phase, when that PMS week hits, this is where decision fatigue is going to hit at its peak. This is where you're going to ask your partner, I I need you to make this decision. I'm just done. And this is because you are closing your doors, getting ready for your winter. Okay, your foods, this is where again you're preparing for more of those winter type kind of foods. Those sweet potatoes, the squashes, those healthy fats, protein. Now, sunflower seeds and sesame seeds are really important because of the oils that they hold for it in preparation for you going into your winter. I want you to also notice this is going to feel like a contradiction. We try and push ourselves past our, we push ourselves past our, what our body's telling us, and we say, no, I need more energy. I need more energy. So we increase the sugar and we increase the caffeine, and our body is saying, it's time for you to slow down. So we get into this contradiction. This is where I want you to have a voice of, what do our bodies generally crave during this time? We do crave the potato chips, which have our fats in that, but we also are craving more caffeines and more sugars. If we can honor that and crowd those out with healthy vegetables, and that greasy processed food, those foods, that alcohol, they're contributing to the stress of PMS. And so, what would that be like if you held the energy of not fearing that PMS? What would that feel like? Because you're getting ready for your winter. You don't want the saturated, heavy fats. You want the clean burning fats, which come from your healthy fats from fishes and your nuts and things like that. Okay. So if we can align these things, I personally use an app. It's called, the name blanks me, Flow, FLO. There's a free version and a paid version. I just use the free version. But it was where I began learning to eat and honor my exercise, um, the exercise and food for the month. Okay. So how does it all feel? Like, give some thumbs up or comments in that. For me, when I learned about this, it was empowering. But I'm also going to highlight Clary Calm here. This is the first oil that I came to feel the greatest difference on was Clary Calm. I rub it on my abdomen. When it's heavy PMS time, I'm putting it on twice a day. This is an oil fantastic for men and women. I know we focus on women because we're open about our hormones, but that oil is fantastic. Now let's have a little fun. These are great ones. Just take pictures of these slides. You can take pictures of the seduction blend you have. Now, why is this a seduction blend? You guys, rose is the heart oil. Jasmine, so a little bit about these oils. Rose is the heart oil. If you're feeling like a broken heart and healing from that, rose is a great one to use. Jasmine is your sexual trauma oil. This is the one of finding a lot of peace and healing in it. Geranium balances masculine, feminine. So if you find yourself feeling really masculine and you just can't get into your feminine, nurturing, beautiful self, geranium's a good one there. So just to give you a little guidance on which one in the seduction blend you'd want to pick. Well, why is this a seduction blend? Well, Lang Lang and Wild Orange bring out our inner child. If we go back to our inner child, what does our inner child want to do? They want to play. Well, intimacy is fun. It's playful. So that's kind of the oils behind that. It can be hair or your hands or feet. Which are great for that. The Venus blend. This is again, it has that lang lang. It is just your playful, but this is where you bring in your lavender and sandalwood. And it also has the rose geranium in there, but that lavender relaxation and the sandalwood. Sandalwood is just for men and women an incredible hormone balancer to get things activated and just rolling. Now, if you want to be proactive and you want your hormones to be in a place of where you are just hungry and you are initiating it, I discovered this accidentally and I didn't really understand what was happening because I was supporting something else in my body. But the results were 2 drops of basil internally, or you can do it as a suppository, morning and night. And there's just this balancing of hormones because the body is meant to reproduce. So if our body is not craving reproduction, the hormones are asking for better balance. And this is where that frankincense, it doesn't taste very good. I'm lazy though, so I do just at night, 2 drops under my tongue before I go to bed are my go-to. Feel free to take pictures. Yes, there are products to help enhance. We'll use that word. Why do I know this? Because I've had 5 babies and I know what I looked like before I was using these oils. I am much more aware of the results of these oils when I'm using them, just based on how my swimming suit fits and how full the bra is and things like that. These are the oils, and what I do is I just take a drop of yarrow palm and then I rub a little vetiver and then a drop of clary sage. I don't do the clary calm. You can do clary calm or clary sage is what I recommend, but I do put clary calm on every day on my lower abdomen. Now, the phytoestrogen is one that helps us with a healthy estrogen within our body. We are full of what's called xenoestrogens. These come from our plastic bottles and the hormones in meats and just simply breathing them in the air. And our water, we just live in a really toxic world. Well, these xenoestrogens have a stronger influence on our hormones than our body's natural estrogens. And so if our estrogens are all over the place, then our other hormones are going to be all over the place. So phytoestrogen is your proactive approach to making sure that your hormones are in a balanced. You need all 3 of them. I did clary sage and that was good. And then, I mean, when I brought in vetiver and yarrow palm, it took it to just a whole new level. Let's shift over. Now we've talked about women's cycles, and this is what we're neglecting in our society is men's cycles. Women cycle with the moon, as I said, and men cycle with the sun, which means how often are men cycling? Every 24 hours, which that can give, as you're going to hear, can give a really stabilizing comfort to us because we can count on things throughout the day to happen. And we need that emotionally for our safety and security with a man in our life. That repetition and routine is actually really great. But let's talk about testosterone, especially if guys are, wanting, if they're struggling with being able to keep up with the amount of intimacy they want or how often, there's some, like if they're dealing with testosterone, we want to look at when their testosterone is the highest to support a healthy sex life. Okay, so morning testosterone is going to be highest in men. This is they're shaking off sleep, they have more energetic. Now, when I first did the research, they say that men are more talkative. That depends on the guy. And I think it kind of depends on the day with it at, where it's at. So that could be true, that could not be. It's kind of irrelevant. But this is the time of day where they're going to feel really independent. So if there's somebody who they have that testosterone, testosterone is their fighting and providing hormone. So if they need to fight war, they can. If they need to provide by going hunting, they can. And so that independence is instilled into them. And we want that. We want them to feel independent to go and do without us having to micromanage them and tell them. That gives us confidence. This is where they can be impulsive and confident, but it also is a time of day where they could be easily agitated. And it could simply be for the women to just to stay out of the way, but also men have a voice to say, I'm feeling aggravated. Like, give me 15, or can we talk about this in an hour, right? All you're going to hear lots of communication of let's just talk about how we're feeling. This is what they say the best time to assemble something because you're just doing it yourself. Compete in a contest. Again, you're just working with yourself. Work on a project solo. Figure out a driving route. Have you guys ever gotten in a debate with like men and women? Have you ever watched it where the man's like, "This is where we're going," and then the woman comes in like, "Well, you could go here. Well, this could be more effective. Well, this could be more efficient." Just let him decide where to go and go. Like, just release it. Can I give all of you women permission to just let them go? Because this is something over the last 2 years that I've laughed about as I've watched the dynamics, even in my own home. My son will get in the car driving, and his sisters will come in and tell him what to do. I'm like, man, us women, we just do that. We just wanted. There's a joke. You guys can go look him up after this. Tim Hawkins, and it's driving assistant. Obviously, if there's comedians talking about us being driving assistants, maybe we need to just let our men drive and just trust them. But this is also a time for passionate sex. First thing in the morning, man, like let him take initiative and enjoy that. Afternoon, this is where testosterone is mood mid, more mellower, not empty, still upbeat, but this is where they are still driven but focused. Now they have more control of their emotions. This is a time when they're open to working with others. When men are planning their day, this is a great time for them to create team get-togethers. This is actually a great time for them to plan dates. This is their happy hours. This time of where that working with others, they're happy working with others. This is also where they're brainstorming ideas. They're not going to be in such a defensive mode, and they're more just open to collaborating and doing those ideas. Now, the evening, this is where that testosterone is lowest. This is where I also want to have a voice of being able to say that there comes a shift for men from going from decision making all day at work, and there's something called decision fatigue. And they've been in analyzer and decision mode all day long. Well, then when they get home, if there isn't this adjustment phase for them to shift more creative, which is more kind, which is softer, um, they're not honoring themselves. So I want to give men permission to honor yourselves. And I talk about this on the next slide, but at this point of coming home from work, you can utilize this on the drive home. And the way you utilize it is, well, they say playing instruments or listening to a documentary. So let's on the days that you don't have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to let your brain fully shift, utilize that drive home with a documentary. Your brain needs to be thinking and receiving information instead of analyzing and making decisions. And that shift needs to happen so that when you walk in the door, you aren't in execute decision making mode. You have a more softer tone about you. This is when your testosterone is lowest. It's going to be natural for you to be more calm, which is great. More passable, agreeable, low key. This is a great time to be asked for favors or requests. You might be a little tired or fuzzy, but you can recharge or before you recharge. So like if you don't do that recharge that I just talked about, you might just feel like, ugh. And also food. Food is a way to a man's heart. Get him some food, and that food in of itself can just really boost him. This is where the men's libido possibly could be lowest. Again, I find it interesting that we associate our intimate times at night when we look at the bodies and we understand their cycles better. So look at this stuff, readjust it, and this is just information. So talk about it with your partner and see how much of this is true and make appropriate adjustments. A lot of men still have enough for passionate sex, which is fine. But if it's too hard to maintain an erection, that's where I want you guys to shift and make it, right? This is where the best time for this is going to be music instruments and relaxing activities, reading, watching documentaries. There is so much information on watching documentaries for men. I find that interesting and fascinating with that. But also, this is a really good time for guys to cuddle. Cuddling increases testosterone, and men want more testosterone. So, just there's your little plug for all because women are known for liking cuddling. Let's give men permission that, hey, you want more testosterone? We'll get your cuddle on. Now, let's talk about oil specifically for men and what happens to the body when we have testosterone spikes. Things that spike the testosterone would be drinking alcohol or caffeine. So, if you find yourself men easily aggravated too often, cut out the caffeine. It's not helping you be your best self. Because if you're mean, well, we'll hear about that. But if you're aggravated and mean, you're not going to create a safe space for your woman. And then you're going to be in the way of your intimacy. Watching action movies, your testosterone's feeling it all. Looking at a person that you find attractive can spike your testosterone. Playing video games, competes or watches in sports, and plays a game of chess. This what affects the spikes. More impulsive, increased desire to take risks, more likely to spend more money, take financial risks. So use that to your advantage or caution. Sharp spikes, this is where I want you to be aware of this, that if you're being aggressive in those mood swings, this is also a risk of cardiovascular issues, that prostate issues, sleep apnea, hair loss. You are in charge of managing your testosterone. It's not necessarily your genetics fault. How can we teach taking ownership of your testosterone management? Again, we talk about women all the time. Look at our cultural habits that we have. Testosterone plunges, teen loses, aging, obesity, diabetes, illness, poor sleep, and stress. I have found that it is really important for men to sleep. Um, okay, so let's talk about PMS. So in men, pissy men syndrome, you can chat GPT the other acronym for it. I'm keeping this appropriate here. But that Clary Calm supports that stress response. Look at, you want to lose your hair? Don't put on Clary Calm. It also reduces those mood swings. Again, those mood swings, those sharp spikes. The moodier you are, the more you're going to push your woman away. A buck doesn't come in with his horns to try and get his doe ready. No, he puts off his pheromones, he's soft, and he eases into her. So these oils are your ease into it. Clary sage, this can regulate testosterone. Sandalwood, I cannot say enough how much every man should be putting sandalwood on. Those T levels, the prostate, hair, manages the DHT with it, the mood and energy, metabolism, skin. That is every man's genius oil. Okay, now if you're having a hard time with ED, what is recommended is you put frankincense in an empty capsule and then or you can just insert it through an enema. So you can do a capsule enema when you go to bed. I would recommend sandalwood and frankincense and or you can do an enema with frankincense so it gets right on there near the genitals. And then we have our copaiba. I mean, copaiba is just our genius for our entire body. Those endocannabinoid system and those mood, stress, the inflammation, immune, but sleep and that hormone support. We have neglected the need for sleep and we've neglected the need for hormone support in men. Okay, listen up. There's a magical oil. It's called MetaPower. And the joke is said by Kirk Hamilton, is that a bottle of MetaPower in your pocket or have you been drinking it? This oil ignites a man. It just does. So have fun playing it. It is going to be one that's going to be internally. Now we have the men's blend. This is just take a picture of them. This is where you can have fun with it. But the Sloop blend is as simple as MetaPower mixed with some fractionated coconut oil. Do not put it on topically without some type of dilution. It also helps with smells and, like smell is very much a part of that experience. It can either bring it or push it away. And so MetaPower has a smell of cleaning things up and distracting, I guess you could say. Alternative to MetaPower would be that you make it your own. So cassia, 2 drops each of cassia, sandalwood, clove, clary sage. It does work for women too. So MetaPower is known for our metabolic blend. That increased metabolism is really beneficial on all of our bodies. And then we have over here the men's blend of we just put it in a roller bottle. You do Immortelle. This is your hopeful. Lang Lang, this is your playful, emotional connection and healing. Clary Sage, intuitive, open-minded, and imaginative. How many like that imaginative, right? Like intimacy, let it be creative. What can happen? Cheer, believing, determined, restored, comforted, and helicrism, courageous, healing, and persevering. I work with a lot of men who, over the last 2 years, especially as I've talked to a higher increase of men, and there's just such a talk of the courage to initiate intimacy. So I found that interesting. Okay, loss of libido. Why do we lose our libido? Stress, exhaustion, depression, underactive thyroid, perimenopause, medications, antidepressants. It's so sad that those antidepressants are meant to help us uplift our mood, but we're missing out on the natural mood elevators that happen through intimacy, relationship problems, and low testosterone in men and women. Now, we're going to watch an interview from Thurman Thomas. He has a master's degree in marital and family therapy. He has a bachelor's in psychology, and then he's a certified personal trainer. But his whole mentality is off of facilitating and mentoring and coaching the body, not just for one, but for all, biologically, psychologically, and socially. And so he calls it systemic wellness coaching, and he focuses on a full range of contributing factors to health and emotional well-being. Thurman, thanks so much for coming and sharing with us your expertise, which is on all relationships, but you're on here specifically because your expertise on intimate relationships. Doing all right tonight?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. This is fun. I haven't. This is a fun thing to be a part of, and it's something I'm definitely passionate about. So thanks for the invite.
Okay, we're gonna jump into it. Your questions that we're offering or asking your advice on is one is how does intimacy initiate differently between men and women? Like what are the needs of a man and what are the needs of a woman?
It's a great question, and when we talk about maybe we're talking about two different things. So I'm gonna kind of go after both of them quickly. We're talking about what are the needs in intimacy for men and women, or are we talking about what helps us initiate more intimacy for men and women? There's two different questions there, right? And so men often need for intimacy to take place. It's heavily centered on physical touch, like being held, being touched. The physical part of intimacy is a big deal. Words of affirmation, being told that they're good and strong, and all of that's very, very feeding to the intimacy desire for men. They need to know that they're admired and loved, and they need to be touched. And that touch, that physical touch for men is like so completely energizing. And as far as initiating intimacy, men are kind of always ready for it. Like we don't need a lot of foreplay. We just need the suggestion or the offer. And that's really all it takes for a man to be in the mood, right? So there's the two questions. What do we need intimately? We need words of affirmation. We need to be told that we're good and strong and we're appreciated, and we need to be touched and loved physically. And to be in the mood, we just need the offer. Like that's about it, really. Like we're ready to go all the time. Hey, you in the mood? Yep. Okay, that's it. That's all it takes. But I see on the feminine side, it's a little different, right? What they tend to need intimate wise is a range of what intimacy means, which is more about the emotional connection and safety, a settling of the spirit, and lots of time and energy, right? That goes into this place of being in the mood. And if a woman doesn't feel emotionally settled, if there's anxieties, if there's things undone, if there's contention, if things feel unsettled, unsafe, unstructured, it's difficult for most women to be in the mood. And as far as physical arousal goes, women tend to need a little warm up time there too. They aren't physically turned on as immediately as men are. So there's a little bit of time there that takes. We aren't just jumping right into it, right? There's work that goes into it, but the biggest part of the work is the emotional settling, the emotional filling her bucket up, and that's very attractive to women to know that that's being tended to.
Okay, I like it, which leads into the next question, which helps us get a little bit more detail, right? Because I mean, relationships are complicated. And so the next one, I want to talk more of like a specific scenario that I've heard a lot and I hear a lot. And unfortunately, it's happened enough where I hear about it. And so it's it's the resolve. So, you know, you talk about how women need the security and the safety. So let's say the dad comes home from work and he thinks he's helping out and he disciplines the kids and it's just yells at the kids and she is angry or upset or hurt or struggling with that, you know, and so she's now feeling distant. You know, what are each of their roles in that resolve? It often is finding we're experiencing things as women, our emotional safety feels threatened when we see experiences happen. Well, how do we resolve that? It's not that we're looking for that contention to be the wedge between intimacy. I think we're just lacking the skill set and the tool set to find that resolve.
Yeah, it's a great question and a common scenario, right? So we've got mom who's maybe been home with the kids making 6,000 decisions and answering 6,000 questions, and it's a bit chaotic and unsettling. And then husband comes home and thinking that I'm going to fix all this chaos by just getting angry. And it works to create control, but it isn't safe control. It's fear based. And it's pretty hard for a woman to be in the mood for intimacy when there's anxiety and fear. Like that's not a turn on, right? It's yucky.
Even
And
you think
so it's
about it right now, I feel myself clenching up like, yeah.
yeah, yeah, walls go up because that doesn't feel safe. And if walls are up, a deep intimacy can't take place. Even if she went ahead and had sex, it wouldn't be connecting. And then the husband would be triggered by that. I hear that all the time. It's like she just did it to do it. It's like going through the motions. She didn't want it. Well, she was doing it out of love and service, but her walls were up emotionally because you came home and yelled at the kids. And so now there's this tension and anxiety that's preventing real deep connection in intimacy. So, what are our roles? Well, I think communication is a big deal, right? For her to be able to say, hey, first of all, show some, there's some validation that can take place. Hey, I know you're really trying to just kind of keep things settled and control things, but when you raise your voice like that, it it really turns me off. Like it doesn't work for me. It makes me feel unsafe. And so maybe we can together figure out a way to do it different. Because I want to be there with you. I want to be with you. I want to connect with you. But the way I feel right now, that's really difficult. So
That
to have an open conversation.
Sorry to
What's that?
interrupt, but that verbiage you just said, I'm like, that's why you coach people. Like, I could see that scenario being brought to you, and I see why coaching and marriages and relationships are necessary because I need somebody to teach me if my walls are up and I'm scared, how do I create that safe place to approach the fear person, right? Like I'm scared of him right now because that feels threatening. And so I see right there where you would come in a relationship as a coach and be like, "Oh, that's where the tools come in." Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I see the
Yeah.
value that you bring to marriages when you're coaching someone in relationships.
No, thanks. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to know kind of how to approach things because in those states we're in kind of fight, flight, freeze, and it's hard to communicate effectively when we're feeling that way. And so sometimes just taking a few breaths and then saying, hey, what do I actually want? I want to be connected. I want to be close. I want intimacy in all the ways, not just sex. How can we do that better with each other? And what's the man's role? Well, there's a deeper thing a deeper issue that I've noticed in the last 8 years of working with couples. And it's that there's a misunderstanding of what healthy masculine energy looks like. And I was there. Like this was me too, because this isn't something that we're taught, right? We didn't have a great example, most of us, of what a healthy masculine energy looks like. And there's a lot of information out there now. It's getting taught a lot better now, but it's been very lacking for most of us. And so the deeper issue is a man in most marriages that I've worked with, they are not showing up in a healthy masculine role or energy. And instead, the wife or the woman in the relationship is having to step into all those masculine roles and that masculine energy. Things like structure, scheduling, appointments, directing the kids, directing the household, keeping track of all the moving parts. Decision making in and of itself is a masculine role. But you ask most women, and they're like, well, I do all of that stuff. I make all the decisions. I handle all the structure and all the schedules and all the follow through. So she's in this masculine energy all the time. And if she's in her masculine energy, she won't be, her libido's off, right? Because it's meant to be feminine masculine connection, not masculine masculine. So that's not attractive to her. And if he comes in and he's yelling, that's not attractive. That's frightening. What would be attractive is if he could come into the house and fulfill a true masculine energy, which is actually to settle and calm the chaos by creating peace in the energy, the emotions. Well, that would be a turn on, right? If he came in and he had a way to say, hey, let's work together, kids. Let's jump in. Let's figure this out. Let's solve these issues. And it took away that pressure from her. And it took the energy in the home from chaos to settled and cooperative. That's pretty sexy.
Yeah, like just my physical demeanor, just hearing you talk about that of just come in and it feels like a gathering energy. Like chaos is scattered and nobody's following direction and there's just like panic. And then as you describe that of just like it's gathering. It's come follow. Like we're going to do this. Let me be the leader. And that is what is really attractive. I can see as a woman, like not that there's a leader and like you're beside each other, but just anyway, I don't want to get into that.
There's healthy roles, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how everybody else feels as they watch this and experience this of yeah, the emotions, and reading several books on masculine and feminine energy, the women need to feel safe to feel. And how often are there atmospheres and are the men creating atmospheres to feel? And then let's just take this one step further. Guys learn best from guys. I'm just going to say it. And so for you to coach people, the guys, the dudes, they're going to listen to you. You know how to speak their language. I mean, guys have an own language. Us girls, we throw 20 words in it, we throw 20 emotions, and we're just not the best teachers. And so guys have a way of mentoring and teaching one another. There's a scripture, it says iron sharpens iron, and I definitely value a culture where men can learn from men. We have it with women. We talk out our feelings, but I definitely see a cultural enhancement that could take place of men helping each other be better men.
Yeah. And it's an effective way to learn. And I agree. I agree totally. Yeah, we just mostly communicate with gestures and grunts. There's not a lot of words, but we get it and it works for us. So it's okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
well, go ahead. What?
I'm just going to say there really is true magic in if a man can step into this role of protect, preside. Preside means to create direction and structure. It's a healthy leadership. Provide, most of us do a pretty good job. Like a lot of men are doing okay in that arena. Like they're making money, they're providing. That's usually not the issue. It's usually the preside and the protect where they're not in the right healthy energy. And mom is in that energy. She's trying to create safety and direction and structure, and she's presiding in most areas. And because of that, being against that nature, she's drained. She's got one nostril above the waterline, and so sex is like the last thing. It's not even in their minds usually. They need relief first. And when a man can provide that relief through appropriate structure and direction, presiding and keeping things safe, then that feminine energy will come to the surface and she'll be able to do what she's good at, which is to teach and to nurture and to provide love and guidance that way, which only women can do it the way that it ought to be done. It's the most beautiful and powerful thing on earth. And when that's balanced, intimacy is just a natural byproduct of it.
I hear you talking about all these roles, and I hear that women have taken on a lot of roles of scheduling and managing emotions and chaos and all this. But on top of that, they're also making sure that there's food in the fridge, and they're also making sure that kids are getting their activities, and they're also making sure that they're being nurtured and they're being comforted. And I see that as, I understand why women will often reference, I have all these boxes open or all these tabs open, right? And for a woman to be vulnerable, intimacy is vulnerable. We have to feel safe. And so when a man can come in and create that protection of, hey, you are allowed to be vulnerable. I've got all of this. That is where that natural desire and intimacy I can see comes in just authentically and naturally, because I think that's what both want is they want it to be authentic. You know, the men don't want to feel like it's her just fulfilling her duty, and the women don't want to feel like it's her fulfilling the duty. And, you know, I don't think men want to feel like they're the only ones initiating. I think needs to be a balancing. I know for I've been told it's something where it's healthy to create your days and then you guys share initiating. And I think that initiation, I don't know what that'd be like, but sharing the roles of initiating, because we can sometimes take this a little too far of like, oh, the guy's the leader, he's the director, he's the planner, he's the, well, that doesn't necessarily mean in all aspects of life, does it? Right? Like she's okay to initiate too. You know what I mean? Like that's good, right? Sorry, I'm kind of taking this like
No,
way
no, it's
further, but
it's
just trying to, yeah.
do you think about intimacy being and for a man a very nurturing thing? And so it's very natural for a woman to initiate intimacy because that is a feminine energy. Now, for a man to create a container that makes that safe and available, like making sure the house isn't on fire and the kids are settled and there's time, space, and atmosphere, those are masculine energies. But the actual coming forward with that nurturing energy is more feminine. So you both have your roles to make in that. And so, yeah, I think it's incredibly natural and common for a woman in her feminine energy to be more often the initiator. But in most marriages, it isn't that way.
Okay, I think we just made the most beautiful conclusion to all of this is showing the woman's role and the man. I've often heard it described as, you know, the man builds the house and the woman decorates it. And I just saw that in vision given is you build the house of protection and safety, and she comes in and she gets to decorate it.
That's right. I
I,
love that.
so I that's beautiful. Thank you so much. I think this gives us all a good goal, you know, and kind of a reassessment of we can all do a little bit better. It's never one or the other. We both can be intentional on, you know, what is the end goal. And I think it brought up today, though, of how, you know, if there is struggles with intimacy, there is struggles within the relationship. This is where getting some coaching helps it out. It's okay that we don't have all the instructions and all the things to do. Reach out. So I'll be sure to link your information so they can reach out to you if they've connected with you to work with you. And just thank you. This was great and really hopeful for the future for for me to understand what I'm looking for and because we are in a societal retraining of mindset. So,
Loved it. Thanks for having me on.
thank
Enjoy. Yeah, thanks so much.
So, in conclusion, we're all looking for the resolve, and I hope you guys have gotten inspired a little bit of it's both need to have the verbiage to communicate. We're not in a place of reading minds. If you are upset, it's learning to find a safe place to express what you're upset about in a kind way, non-attacking. And what I've learned in the books, there's a great book I've read, Magnetic Femininity, but in it, it talks about that women do best when we talk from our feelings. That is our intuition, that's our roadmap, and it's really been empowering for me to just talk about my feelings and because that keeps us in the feminine where we're not attacking, we're not saying it. And so for me on my standpoints, I've used a lot, especially with the situation that I'm in my life. I don't say what things are. I just say I find myself feeling scared to because of, this or whatever. And so I just do the thing. So thermanthomas.com, pay attention to the spelling. It's O-N. And if you want to reach out to him to get some coaching for your relationships and just, see if that's something of benefit, I definitely see the value of doing all we can to save our relationships. I'm divorced, I have a heart still as I did then of I'll do anything and everything I can to have a healthy relationship. And I think we all ultimately want that. Okay, let's get back to some more fun. Okay. So, diffusers, when you diffuse, it can naturally create the environment. We know that it hits the brain and then it's naturally releasing certain hormones. Well, there are certain essential oils that if you get diffusing that it is going to naturally trigger you to be ready. So get your cameras out ready. I'll give you some recipes here in a minute, but let's just talk foundationally about some key essential oils. Well, one is black pepper. This has a very spicy, erotic aroma to it. This adds that zest and liveliness. It's warming. So these first two oils are our warming. For us women, we take time to warm up. So these can kind of speed up the process a little bit. It can renew that flame of passion and it hastens that healing process. Why is that important? Well, both cinnamon and black pepper kind of are together in that of where there's a lot of shaming and sexual abuse that's happened. So, shaming around sex and shaming around having hormones. And there's just so much shame, and we have so much to heal from. And that is where that healing can come from. Cinnamon is like your warm blanket that comes around you to comfort you to heal through those emotional pains and things that you've gone through. So, that helping you overcome the challenges of issues that you've carried inside to live in your integrity and your true self. Now, this is cinnamon bark. This helps those specifically those sexual hurts. This oil is in the passion blend. Also is jasmine. So cinnamon and jasmine are our two superpowers for sexual hurts and pains and shamings. If sex has been weaponized against you, if you've been sexually abused, those are two that I often highly recommend. Um, it assists in accepting your body and attractiveness. How many of you deal with body shaming? I mean, we have these supermodels and we have all these images and we have all these things out there that create these perfect bodies and we have, things that happen and we can shame ourselves if we look different or our body shape is different than the others. And we definitely need to get away from that and just truly find that attractiveness. Now, it also is seductively spreads and it warms, but it's your entire body that it warms. Okay, sandalwood. This is your man's oil. Have him put it on his neck. I mean, this is his pheromone releaser, right? I gave the reference of a buck. He's going to come into his doe nice and calmly. How is he going to attract the ladies? Because he's going to release the pheromones. So, we're going to make sure that um, sandalwood is put here to help those pheromones naturally get his lady, not ladies, get his lady naturally warmed up ready. This is something if he puts it on in the morning, he goes to work, and then when he comes home, like his body's going to be ready for those pheromones. Helps emotional openness and increases physical sensuality. Women are naturally really sensual, but if we've locked up, that's where we can put those walls up, right? A man is so attracted to a woman's sensuality. So that's where we want to make sure that that's flowing and strong within it. It also accesses the heart and challenges to reorder priorities in alignment with the divine. Sometimes we can prioritize the home and the kids and our hobbies and forget that our relationship is a priority. That is foundational to the home and to give it a strong place from. It creates unprompted interaction, helps get out of sexual slump, and helps to with disconnected, especially spiritually, that emptiness and overthinking. Now, here's a crazy cashy idea because that's what I can bring into it. I've had from multiple sources, and that's the only reason I'm going to say this because things come in twos or threes if I'm like, maybe there's some truth to that. They talk about how men connect sexually, how men connect to their spirituality through sex, their physical beings, and how women connect to their spirituality through their emotions. So that's why it's healthy for a woman to be willing to talk about her feelings and to feel her emotions because that is going to heighten her intuition and her spirituality. Men are physical. They are strong. They have testosterone. They're hunters. They're warriors. They bring that sexual to the relationship, which can be their spiritual enhancer. Take it or leave it for you want. For me, I think it's wonderful to see a man and a woman come together in their talents and they get to enhance one another. And I definitely see that placement of where they each bring their talents to enhance because the goal is to reach intimacy. We're trying to go beyond just sex. We've seen what sex has done, and it isn't enough. We're hungry for intimacy, and that is where understanding that spirituality side of sex is where we can find that intimacy, possibly. Lang Lang. This is what I call your playful oil. It's a powerful aphrodisiac, though. This one I put in my hair. Along with geranium, they're fantastic for the hair. But when you think about that being an aphrodisiac, I'm proactively creating an aphrodisiac for myself by putting geranium and lang lang in my hair. It increases that sexual desire and boosts attraction, opens the emotions, encourages sensual and erotic experience during lovemaking. Again, there's that sensual opening. Think of little children, that inner child it brings out. Well, that little child wants to play and it wants to feel and it wants to experience because they're curious. Well, that curiosity is when we're in our safety. Um, a powerful remedy for releasing emotional traumas. Now, oil of love and trust is geranium. This oil, there's a promo. If you order over 200 this month, you get this oil free. And it talks about all the detoxing of the organs and how powerful it is. And you do detoxes on the organs. You guys, our emotions are held in our organs. Liver is where we hold our anger, and our kidneys and bladder are our relationship emotional holders. And detox that out. We hold on for protection. So we think to old stories and toxins and toxic experiences because that's like a defense mechanism, right? That's our fight, flight, or freeze of protection. It makes sense. But there comes a time of where it's time just to let it go, time to move forward and take the lessons and let go of the experiences that are creating a toxic havoc in your body. And that's what geranium helps you with. Um, but that trust, when trust has been lost, to help encourage that. But that emotional honesty, that love and forgiveness and neglected or abandoned, this oil is the feminine oil. This oil I hated when I first smelt it. Why? Because I was in my masculine. And this oil, I could feel it pulling me to my feminine. I hated this smell. I couldn't stand it. But this is your masculine feminine balancer. And what happens? Well, women are loving. We want to forgive. We want to nurture. We want to care for. We don't want to abandon. And so, this is the oil to bring us back into our feminine and also for men to be in their masculine. Okay, here's some blends for you. I'm lazy and I just like going right for passion. I use the passion touch and I'll diffuse passion in the air, and then passion touch is what I'll put on topically over over that area down there. And to get things going and warmed up. But again, if you think back to the oils that we have in it, this oil has jasmine and cinnamon. So if there's any type of sexual trauma or shame, and it's men and women, I've been surprised how much shaming happens to men over the fact that they are sexual beings, like let's love that part of them. Anyway, so they also need that support as well. Light your lover's fire, cinnamon, lang lang, ginger. That ginger is spicy. So it for sure is going to get things rocking and rolling. That desire boost blend, black pepper, ginger, and sandalwood when we think of these. And you guys, really, the whole purpose of this is just to have fun. Just to inspire you guys to have a little bit more fun. Massage blends. This is just a fun thing of pick one for, Valentine's Day and just to play around with it. Take a screenshot of this. It's a great thing for you to utilize and just to have fun is the purpose of these. Monkey business, spicy and sexy, bring sexy back, rock your body, let's get it on. Ecstasy extends. Some of them are I'm going to say this. One thing I forgot to mention about Clary Calm, the blend, is when that is put on a man's genitals, it not only heightens the orgasm, but it gives him the ability to hold off longer. So there's another little tip that I forgot to mention when we were talking about Clary Sage. Here's another one for pictures all night long. If he's looking to go all night long, rosemary and sandalwood beneath the twins. Rosemary is a natural steroid. For her, it's going to be geranium on the clitoris. And I want to stress that for stamina, the VMG, remember that our bodies are not going to have the reproductive hormones if we don't have the basic nutrition. The VMG and the omegas are essential. A healthy essential fatty acids, you have to have that to have lubrication and for the body. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is kind of a funny one, but you could always put cypress on for flexibility if you need to spice things up that way. But it really does work. It's amazing. The attract blend. So attract for women. Now let's talk about the emotions behind these. Vetiver, present, emotionally aware, and connected. Again, we have that present, but that emotionally aware. Bergamo, so a woman to be able to be emotionally aware, what to nurture and how to comfort that is where that comes in. Bergamo, that self-acceptance, that confidence, we call this the oil of love, of self-love. Are you going to be giving off a confidence about yourself if you're doubting and you're like, right? Like, if you're wanting, that bergamot is that oil of self-love. And so, we're going to go into that of like, like you bring a reassurance and then sandalwood, humble, spiritual clarity, surrender, connected to higher. And then to attract your man, lang lang, this brings out your playful. Men are like, I often have it described like men can be the solid and then the women are the playful, right? The decorators that we might say is I referenced into there. Whisper, accept femininity, that kindness, that healthy sexuality, and then passion. Risk taking, alive, playful, and spontaneous. How often are we wanting to be safe and just contained? So that helps kind of bust through some barriers and have a little bit of fun there. Now, support enhanced libido. Like this meta power is your go-to for that. This is just for more energy and stamina. Take them. It just keeps you going. And the great thing is if you're having sex at night, it's not going to keep you up. You can literally go to sleep afterwards. It's not like your caffeine or other things, other stimulants that are going to be affected it. And as I've said, take a picture of this, but your body is not going to be producing reproductive hormones if it doesn't have foundational nutrition. Those Z omegas are essential with all of this. So, in conclusion, relax, have fun, and enjoy. If I were to encourage kits, these are some good starting places for you to go. You have the first kit on the front that's let's have fun. This has your passion, sandalwood, and meta power. That's going to keep both ignited and energized and get going. I just love those three oils. I feel like they're foundational. Another one is I'm ready. So the reason why I'm ready, if a guy is having a hard time with ED, I think so. For me, frankincense is foundational, and also nutrition is foundational. The nutrition has to be there so his body is ready to reproduce. And then copaiba is for her to relax. I like to take 5 to 10 drops beforehand. I mean, that relaxation for most women allows you to get to the place to orgasm so that you are relaxed. All those doors are able to shut, you're able to get vulnerable and be able to experience that and relax into that. And then we have all night kit. This has your Meta Power. This has your Lang Lang, that Yarrow Palm. Now, Yarrow Palm, yes, I mentioned it on the breast, but Yarrow Palm stops the breakdown of collagen. We have to have healthy collagen and elasticity down there so that we can stay lubricated. And we have amazing hormonal balance with that Yarrow Palm. And then you have the geranium. Now, the geranium is free in that kit. This month, any time you spend 200 PV or more, you're going to get geranium free. If you're a first time customer, you're going to get a free diffuser, which are just some fun bonuses that doTERRA gives to you. So if you're whoever invited you to this, you can have a screenshot of this and say, help me order this kit, this kit, this kit. And if I invited you, then reach out to me and let me know what kit you'd like to get started with. I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to end this and then go to questions.